Panic at the White House as now more whistleblowers are coming forward with evidence against the President of the United States of America. It is verdict with Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, as always, nice to be with you here in person. And if the White House thought the Hunter Biden plea deal was going to get them a get-out-of-jail-free card, clearly they are wrong, as more whistleblowers are coming forward and more damning information that's now making it to the podium at the White House, and they're having a hard time just walking all this back now.
Well, the White House and the Department of Justice are in one mode right now, and that is Stonewall. They are desperately trying to cover everything up. They are simply running away, and it is bad. The evidence is mounting and mounting and mounting, and they don't have a substantive response. They're not addressing it on the merits. Instead, what they're hoping is that their lapdogs in the media will continue to hide it for them. It is getting so bad, even the corrupt corporate media can't ignore this anymore. But here, take a look at the Attorney General of the United States and what he's saying.
I certainly understand that some have chosen to attack the integrity of the Justice Department as components and its employees by claiming that we do not treat like cases alike. This constitutes an attack on an institution that is essential to American democracy and essential to the safety of the American people. Nothing could be further from the truth. You've all heard me say many times that we make our cases based on the facts and the law. These are not just words. These are what we live by. They are the foundation of the way we make these decisions. The agents of the FBI, as well as the DEA, the ATF, our deputy U.S. Marshals, every day, often at great personal risk, protect the American people and secure its safety. Our cases are based on their work. I could not be more proud to work with them.
Senator, you predicted this. You said they were going to indict Hunter Biden, and then they were going to say, see, look at how fair we are as we go after Donald Trump, and we have no bias in the agency. That's clearly, though, not the case.
Well, let me be clear. As I listened to that press conference, it's infuriating. Merrick Garland says you're impugning the integrity of the Department of Justice. No, let me be very clear. It's your integrity. It's Merrick Garland's integrity that is missing. He is the one who has politicized this process, and he is the one who is burning the integrity of the Department of Justice to the ground. And by the way, the people accusing him are his own damn employees. The whistleblowers work for him, and they're coming forward mad, saying, why is this man turning the Department of Justice into a political arm for the DNC? That self-righteous, if you dare question me, you are disloyal. I look at that, and I see Louis XIV, the Sun King. L'état c'est moi. I am the state. I am justice, he tells you. The words he's saying are objectively false. We use the same standards for everyone. Whether your name is Trump or Biden. Well, okay, if your name is Biden, you can have classified documents everywhere. You can stick them next to your Corvette. No big deal. We don't care. But if you're Trump, we're sending in the stormtroopers. By the way, they do the same thing, as we've discussed at length on verdict. If you're violating the law, committing federal crimes outside the homes of a Supreme Court justice we don't like, we don't enforce the law. Why? Because we agree with the violent protesters and we don't like the justices, so our politics are on this side. On the other hand, if you're a pro-life protester, my goodness, you are the greatest terrorist threat to humanity, and we are going to send the stormtroopers at your house like they did with Mark Houck at the break of dawn with machine guns drawn. Every word he said there is a lie, and the self-righteousness with which he says it. Ben, I got to say it's time. It is time. The Department of Justice needs to appoint a special counsel to investigate Merrick Garland for obstruction of justice and perjury.
Wow.
There's a reason he's saying, don't ask these questions. Let's be clear. It is his integrity. And I want to walk through it because that is a very serious statement. But at this point, the evidence that Merrick Garland personally committed multiple felonies is growing greater and greater. And the chances that the Merrick Garland Justice Department will fairly investigate evidence of his wrongdoing are zero. So let's walk through it. On perjury, let's remember the start of the IRS whistleblower. It concerned an allegation that Merrick Garland himself had committed perjury. So, Gary Shapley, the first IRS whistleblower who wrote to Congress, I want to read from his prepared statement in Congress. Beginning in January 2020, I was assigned to work the Hunter Biden investigation as a supervisory special agent for IRS criminal investigation, U.S. Department of Treasury. So this is not some Republican. This is not some partisan. This is a career supervisory special agent for the IRS criminal investigations. What did he do? He supervised line agents investigating Hunter Biden until I continued in that role, until I was removed from the investigation by the U.S. Department of Justice, that's Merrick Garland, in May of 2023, so just 2 months ago, after providing protected disclosures concerning prosecutors' mishandling of the investigation of Hunter Biden, to include conflicts of interest, preferential treatment, deviations from normal investigative procedures, and conflicting information provided by Attorney General Merrick Garland to Congress. Now, understand what he's saying. He came forward as a whistleblower to say Merrick Garland just committed perjury, lied under oath to the United States Congress. In response, what did Merrick Garland do? Had him removed from the case, immediately retaliated, which is in and of itself illegal and part of what the special counsel needs to investigate. Now, this whistleblower continues. Most recently, former Attorney General Bill Barr provided an interview in which he stated that the information provided by a confidential human source concerning an alleged illegal bribery scheme by President Joe Biden was received through the Pittsburgh U.S. Attorney's Office and was determined it was not likely to have been disinformation. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
That they made a determination, okay, this is not likely Russian disinformation or something else. In other words, there could easily be some there. According to Attorney General Barr, it was provided to the ongoing investigation in Delaware to follow up on and to check out. Now he continues, neither I nor the line IRS criminal investigation agents operating under my supervision, nor the FBI agents working with IRSCI were ever provided the confidential human source information the Attorney General Barr recently referenced was sent to Delaware to have it checked out. He goes on to say the confidential human source information was concealed by prosecutors, by people working for Merrick Garland. They said, we don't want the FBI agents to see this. We don't want the IRS to see this. That on the face of it, by the way, we also have a letter from quite recently, from June 19th, 2023. It's an interview of Whistleblower X. We don't know who Whistleblower X is. That's the anonymous pseudonym. But Whistleblower X confirms, in particular, as Mr. X has testified, he was the IRS criminal investigations case agent over the subject investigation at the time. In other words, investigating Hunter Biden. And Mr. X has stated to me that he has never seen this FBI Form 1023 and that he does not recall ever hearing about this information being turned over in any meeting with the prosecution team in Delaware. Further, Mr. X informed me that this information could have been relevant to Mr. X's investigation at the time of the subject as it related to a claim of $5 million being paid to the subject, which directly ties to email correspondence reviewed between subject and a business partner of subject sent in May of 2014, which is believed to reference the $5 million being paid to subject from company XXX.
It's shocking when you put it all together the way you're describing it. What Merrick Garland has clearly, I think, done or tried to accomplish by covering it up and making this go away. And this on top of the fact that this week we had other people that were also saying, hey, there was this idea that in Delaware, the prosecutor had the ability to do whatever he needed to do and to charge anybody with whatever he needed to charge him wherever he needed to. Then there was word that came out this week from others saying,
and
no,
by the way,
we weren't allowed to do that.
That's what Merrick Garland allegedly lied about.
Right.
So Merrick Garland told Congress, actually in response to a question from yours truly, it would be me, that he lied to under oath.
Walk people down that road, the question that you asked, so people understand what you were trying to get to at that point.
Well, here, I'll tell you what, we'll do better than that. We'll play it right now. Let me say in particular on Hunter Biden, I very much hope that an investigation of Hunter Biden is focused not just on his own personal substance abuse issues, but on connections to his father and potential corruption. That is the matter of public concern and why people are concerned. And it was striking that the leak that came out from DOJ suggested this is just going after some poor person struggling with drugs instead of looking at the very real evidence of corruption. Will you commit that the investigation will actually examine the public corruption aspect and not simply scapegoat Hunter Biden as an individual?
I can't comment about the investigation other than to say that all the matters involving Mr. Hunter Biden are the purview of the U.S. Attorney in Delaware. It's not restricted in his investigation in any way.
So you look at that there, when you were asking that question, based on now what we have, you're saying it's pretty fair to say he probably just flat out lied to you and to Congress under oath.
Well, that's what the whistleblower has alleged, that he did lie to me, to Congress under oath. And to be clear, lying, he started that testimony by raising his right hand, taking an oath to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. If that statement you just saw was a lie, that the statement that there's no political interference from DOJ in the investigation of Hunter Biden, that is a criminal offense with serious jail time. It's yet another reason why I believe it is time for a special counsel. And let's be clear, a special counsel with real credibility, not a henchman of Merrick Garland who's going to give him a sanitized report, but someone who will actually investigate. Because at this point, it is the Attorney General directly who is implicated in this. And his conduct, his absolute hubris, how dare you question me? And let me say something about the Delaware U.S. Attorney. So a lot of folks in the corporate media keep saying, well, it's a U.S. Attorney appointed by Donald Trump.
Over and over again, they always lead with that.
Now, that dramatically overstates the situation. I don't know Mr. Weiss. I don't know anything about him. His background, he was a career prosecutor. What I can tell you is how U.S. attorneys are picked, which is U.S. attorneys are picked essentially by the senators from that state. In other words, the Delaware U.S. attorney was picked by Tom Carper and by Chris Coons, both of whom are Democrats.
Pretty liberal Democrats.
And by the way, Delaware is also the home to Joe Biden, who is the closest to a political king in a tiny state of Delaware. Joe Biden is the colossus that bestrides tiny little Delaware. You know, my mom was born in Delaware, in Wilmington, Delaware. Her mother was the second youngest of 17 kids.
Wow.
They were Irish Catholic, as I like to joke. They didn't know what else to do on a Saturday night. When I was first sworn into the Senate, 2013, Joe Biden swore me in. He was the vice president at the time. And I introduced my mom to him. And my mom told him, said, oh, I have hundreds of cousins in Delaware. And Biden smiled and said, oh, they probably all voted for me. And it was charming. The way he did it was, and my mom laughed and she sort of rolled her eyes and said, yeah, they probably did. The point is, this U.S. attorney was handpicked by two Democrat senators. So every time the reporters say a Donald Trump U.S. attorney, the way it works, you can't advance it without the senator signing off. And so
okay, to be clear, a lot of people don't understand this is inner workings. I love doing the show for this reason. In any state in America, you've got an attorney you're going to pick. If the two senators say no to that pick,
it's dead.
It's dead in the water.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
A lot of people have no clue.
No.
So Trump said this is probably the best I can get out of Delaware from two Democrats.
Yeah, so look, there's nothing in his background that indicates that the guy is a wild-eyed leftist.
Sure.
But he's not remotely a Republican either. He's someone who had been a career prosecutor in a state like Delaware. People know him. I am certain he's a Democrat, that you know that in that process. Look, there are 4 U.S. attorneys in Texas. I can tell you the U.S. attorneys for 11 years. John Cornyn and I have been integral in selecting each and every one of them and giving those names to the White House. And that's true whether it's Republican or Democrat. That's true for Trump U.S. attorneys. It's true for Biden U.S. attorneys. Now,
is it a short list you guys give them, or is it like basically saying, hey, this is who we want. Here's a name. We think they're qualified. You guys need to let this happen.
So it varies, and different senators have more leverage than others. Typically with Cornyn and I, we give them one name.
Okay.
We hand the House one name and say, this is who you're going to be. Now, look, they're different names. Under Trump, Cornyn and I forwarded very different names than we do under Biden.
Sure.
Look, under Trump, there were some strong conservative U.S. attorneys that Trump was happy to appoint, and we had really strong leadership for Texas U.S. attorneys. We're not going to appoint a vocal, strong Republican conservative as a U.S. attorney nominee for the Biden White House. That's.
But you're also not going to give him a hardcore Democrat.
Those are dead in the water.
Yeah.
Like if you're a hard partisan Democrat, you're not getting it. That's the way the process worked. If Cornyn and I don't sign off, that U.S. attorney doesn't go forward. So we have an absolute veto on that. The same is true for Tom Carper and Chris Coons, which means they both affirmatively signed off and said, this is our guy.
He's watered down enough. He's enough of a Democrat that's on our team. We're good with it.
I'm not saying that to impugn his integrity, but I am saying the repeated refrain that he's a Trump guy. There's nothing in his background.
Implies that Donald Trump plucked him.
There's nothing in his background to think that he has even one iota of fondness, loyalty. There's nothing to suggest he ever voted for Donald Trump. That happened to be the president who appointed him. But for U.S. attorneys, far more relevant is who are the senators. What Garland told the Senate Judiciary Committee when I asked him is he said, I, the Sun King, the Attorney General, will not interfere with this prosecution. What we're seeing coming out of the House is a mountain of evidence that that's not the case.
Let me tell you real quick, though, first, before we get to another question about these whistleblowers, about Augusta Precious Metals. If you've seen what's been going on in the economy, if you've been looking at your IRA, your 401k, and you've got losses, the majority of people do, especially with what's been going on with the economy. You've seen interest rates that have more than doubled on houses, and interest rates have gone up in general. That has been tough for a lot of people in retirement or close to retirement. If you want to protect some of your hard-earned dollars, your assets, call Augusta Precious Metals. Now, they are different because they actually sit down with you one-on-one in a web conference and talk to you about your financial situation, what you've saved, your retirement diversification. And they want to help you protect your dollars because, look, if you're in retirement or close to retirement, there is no time to make up losses. And that's where gold can come in to help you protect your dollars. Check them out, 877, the number 4, Gold IRA. 877, 4, Gold IRA. You can also go online to AugustaPreciousMetals.com. That's AugustaPreciousMetals.com, and they will send you your free investor's guide on gold. 877, 4, Gold IRA. Get that peace of mind back and make sure you have diversification when you're heading into retirement. 877, 4, Gold IRA. Senator, I want to ask you one other question about these whistleblowers that are coming forward. I think it needs to be stated just how brave they are.
Yes.
They're risking their careers. I think many of them know that regardless of what the whistleblower rules say they're supposed to be under this administration, there's a very good chance their careers are completely going to be stonewalled, done, put into isolation, taken off the cases.
Which
and
has
their
already
job,
happened.
Which has already happened. They're risking it all to come forward to you guys.
They are, and we've seen, and in fact, the House has put FBI whistleblowers forward who've had their whole careers destroyed. That these guys, Merrick Garland and the Biden Justice Department, have behaved like vicious partisans. If you cross them, they will crush you. They will destroy your career. They will destroy your livelihood. They've done it over and over again. And I want to walk through some of the specific allegations these whistleblowers have put forward because they're incredibly damning. Number one, they have alleged the Justice Department not once but twice prevented U.S. Attorney David Weiss from bringing stronger charges against Hunter Biden. Now, let's be clear. If that is correct, Merrick Garland committed perjury twice.
Wow.
So that's what they've alleged. The Justice Department prevented the U.S. Attorney from bringing stronger charges twice against Hunter Biden. That is directly contrary to what Merrick Garland testified under oath. Number two, Merrick Garland refused to name a special counsel in the tax investigation. Number three, the IRS recommended charges against Hunter Biden that were not approved by Merrick Garland. So it wasn't just the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware saying we want to bring stronger charges. It was the IRS saying we want to bring stronger charges. And again, Merrick Garland, the Department of Justice, said no, you can't. Number four, and this is a really damning one. The investigation forewarned Hunter Biden of future searches for materials that could be used as evidence. So understand this. They're executing search warrants. They're looking for evidence of a crime. And yet this administration gave a heads up to Hunter, hey, here's where we're going to go search, before it happened. By the way, that's called obstruction of justice. That's why I believe Merrick Garland needs to be investigated for obstruction of justice, because you don't have the investigators tell the subject to the investigation, here's where we're searching for evidence. Hint, hint, if you have any evidence there, make sure to remove it. Number five, an assistant attorney general named Leslie Wolf refused to allow the investigators to ask about Joe Biden being, quote, the big guy. This assistant U.S. attorney needs to testify under oath. If it is correct that this assistant U.S. attorney told investigators, you are not allowed to ask about Joe Biden being the big guy, well, then that is directly contrary to what Merrick Garland testified under oath to Congress. This same assistant U.S. attorney, according to the whistleblowers, told the investigation team they could not search Joe Biden's guest house in Delaware, which is where Hunter Biden was living, because of, quote, optics. So at this point, they're just looking for, well, this would look bad politically for the president, so never mind. We're not really investigating crimes. We're not following the law. We're making sure we don't do anything that has bad optics for the president. Another individual, Rob Walker, who is a Biden family associate, said Joe Biden showed up at a meeting with CEFC, which is a Chinese energy company closely affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party. That Biden showed up personally there. They also said that Hunter Biden demanded in 2017 to be paid by Chinese businessman Henry Zhao while Joe Biden was sitting next to him in a room. And hold on to that one. I'm going to come back to that one in a minute. They also revealed that Hunter Biden on his tax return deducted payments to prostitutes.
As employees.
And to sex clubs.
Yeah.
He claimed
those were country club.
Claimed those were business deductions.
Yeah.
They also revealed that the investigation of Hunter Biden began as an offshoot into an inquiry into a foreign adult platform. So listen, there's lots of sordid stuff here, but what is really sordid is corruption by the President of the United States. And so I want to go back to the WhatsApp that was sent.
And this is big breaking news this week for people that maybe missed a verdict. We talked about this. Go back and listen. But I want people to understand this WhatsApp text. We have a copy of it. It is Hunter Biden basically shaking down someone, demanding it, and using his father, saying he's sitting right next to me.
And we're going to put it up on the screen. You can see it on the screen. This is, if you didn't listen to Friday's pod, you should go back and listen to Friday's pod, because it is all about this smoking gun evidence. This WhatsApp sent by Hunter Biden to Henry Zhao says as follows: I'm sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand. And now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me, in other words, Joe Biden, and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge that you will regret not following my direction, I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father.
The kingpin, the big guy.
This is as damning evidence of presidential corruption we've ever seen. And it's worth remembering what Joe Biden said. Here's what Joe Biden told the American people about whether he discussed business dealings with his son or was involved in business dealings with his son.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
That was a lie.
If this WhatsApp is accurate, if this is a real document, and if Hunter Biden was telling the truth, then Joe Biden flat out lied, just like Merrick Garland is accused of perjury. Joe Biden, that wasn't under oath, so that's not a felony. That was just a lie to the American people on national television during a presidential campaign. But if this WhatsApp is genuine, then Joe Biden lied to the American people. And let me go back to the whistleblowers, because we need to tie these together. The investigators wanted to obtain location information to confirm that Joe Biden was in the room with Hunter.
Yeah.
So Hunter says, I'm sitting next to my father. The investigator said, hey, we can figure that out. Where was Joe Biden at the time? We know when the WhatsApp was sent. We know where Hunter was. Where was Joe? And at this point, it's not clear that the investigators were allowed to do that. It appears that they may have been prevented from checking Joe Biden's location data. All of this piled together, and by the way, that list comes from a very good article that Breitbart put together of 13 ways that this administration stonewalled and blocked investigation based on the whistleblowers. And the point I make, look, I don't lightly call for a special counsel to investigate the Attorney General of the United States for obstruction of justice and for perjury.
Have you ever called for that to happen against the AG?
No.
Yeah.
And given this, at this point, the evidence is overwhelming. And, you know, Merrick Garland, if he were standing up saying, these are very serious allegations, we need to come clean with the American people, we need to disclose what happened, we need each of the individuals who have testified to tell the American people what happened, we need to clear the air, we need to have absolute confidence in the Department of Justice. If he was saying that, that'd be a very different story, but he's not. He is defiantly saying, you can't touch me.
Yeah.
It is.
While also saying that my employees are amazing, yet it's his own employees that are whistleblowing on his abuse of power.
Because he is so damaging the Department of Justice and so damaging the FBI that his own employees are outraged. And look what it is doing to the White House. This is a White House press briefing that's really astonishing. Watch this.
The House Ways and Means Committee yesterday released documents, their authenticity nowhere challenged. That included a July 2017 WhatsApp message sent by Hunter Biden to Henry Zhao.
Here, pause for a second. So I want to point out two things right now. Number one, James Rosen is asking a great question, terrific journalist, one of the few journalists still doing journalism today. He points out the WhatsApp content, its authenticity nowhere challenged. Listen to that very carefully, because you're going to see John Kirby doesn't challenge it either. Nobody has challenged. It could be a defense to say this is fraudulent.
Made up, right?
This doesn't exist. That, if it's fraudulent, that would be a real defense. But Rosen said, look, no one's doubting this thing's real, that Hunter said exactly this. By the way, exactly the same as the Hunter Biden laptop. At no point did Hunter Biden say, no, it's not real. And look at, actually, I want to rewind and play from the beginning. This is right at the beginning of this clip. I want to rewind and play from the beginning. Look at John Kirby's face when Rosen brings this up, because Kirby looks to the side like, get me the hell out of here. The look of terror.
And he's looking at the White House press secretary and her staff.
Yeah,
and
Karine Jean-Pierre.
I don't want a part of this. You guys handle this. Here it is. It's amazing.
The House Ways and Means Committee yesterday released documents, their authenticity nowhere challenged. That included a July 2017 WhatsApp message sent by Hunter Biden to Henry Zhao, a Chinese Communist Party official, which stated in its entirety, and I quote, "I am sitting here with my father, and we would like to understand why the commitment made has not been fulfilled. Tell the director that I would like to resolve this now before it gets out of hand, and now means tonight. And Z, if I get a call or text from anyone involved in this other than you, Zhang, or the chairman, I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows, and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father," unquote. So just a couple of questions about this. First, does this not undermine the president's claim during the 2020 campaign and the reaffirmations of that claim by his two press secretaries since then, that he never once discussed his son's overseas business dealings with him?
No, and I'm not going to comment further on this.
We're good.
I'm not. James, let me save you some. Let me save you some breath. If you're going to ask about this, I am not addressing. I know you do more than I'd like you to have. I am not going to address this issue from this podium. I'm just not going to do it.
All right.
I'm not going to do it.
Where was the president on the day of that
Thank
message?
you. Thanks, guys. Have a great
Son was
weekend.
at the father's house.
I mean, you can even see the White House press secretary's look when she walks like, I'm walking into this now? You're handing this over to me?
So I got to say, when Kirby leaves the podium, I'm reminded of the great scene in Monty Python. Run away!
Yeah.
Run away! Let me ask one question in response to Kirby, which actually the reporters were calling out. Why the hell not? He says, I'm not going to answer it. Why not?
Yeah.
Because it's hard?
Yeah.
Oh, you only answer the easy ones. I'm not going to answer. We have evidence, and by the way, this was just put out by the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee of the U.S. House of Representatives. This is not some random guy on Twitter.
Yeah.
That it is the son of the president of the United States shaking down a Communist Party official for millions of dollars, invoking his father, saying his father's sitting right next to him, and saying, Daddy is going to punish you if you don't give me the money. And the White House's response is, I'm not going to answer it. Why? Because I don't want to answer it.
From this podium. My question is there another podium they will answer these questions from?
It just, I don't want to answer. I don't want to answer. I mean, what the hell are you talking about? There is serious evidence of corruption from the president. You are giving a press briefing at the White House. You're not asking about some random thing. And his answer is just because I don't want to. And in fact, there's one exchange where Rosen says, I have a lot more. He's like, I know you do. A lot more than I wish you did.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm sorry that the administration that you were willing to be a part of, there's mounting evidence of corruption coming out, and the administration is stonewalling at every step. But when you play Baghdad Bob and say, nope, not going to answer, not going to answer, not going to answer, there's no basis for not answering. They're not asking you, can I have the nuclear codes? That you could say, I'm not going to answer.
Yeah.
It's a national security reason. I'm not going to tell you the nuclear codes.
Well, it used to be an ongoing investigation with Hunter, so we're not going to talk about it. Then it was a personal, private, family matter, so we're not going to talk about it. There's one part of this that you could argue you should absolutely have to answer the question. This is a Chinese. This has kind of been overlooked, but it's clear.
Yeah, and he's an admiral.
Right.
Kirby is an admiral who spent most of his career speaking on behalf of the Department of Defense. But go ahead.
No, you have a Chinese Communist Party official who's being shaken down by Hunter Biden and his father sitting next to him. So the idea that this could be private or a personal matter or doesn't involve the government or doesn't involve the White House, all should be taken off the table. This is a official member of the Chinese Communist Party, an official party official.
And Hunter is threatening official retribution.
From the U.S. government.
Yes.
So
now to be fair, at the time of the WhatsApp, Joe Biden had just finished being vice president, so he was not currently an office holder. He was simply the immediate past vice president and fixing to be in a few years the next president. So he had a lot of levers to pull, but he did not, at that instant, have official government power to exercise.
So then this goes back to the question. When this deal that was done, when this arrangement between this Chinese Communist Party official happened, was he then the vice president? Do we know that timeline? Because it's a question that should be answered by the White House.
If the whistleblowers are accurate, then the investigators were not allowed to ask because they weren't allowed to investigate the big guy. This is all about we've got our scapegoat. Our scapegoat is Hunter. He's, a poor, troubled substance abuse user. And blame it all on him, but nothing about the big guy. Protect the big guy, protect Joe Biden at all costs. And I got to say, what Merrick Garland said in that press conference, it actually is accurate. The Department of Justice has a long tradition of integrity, and integrity is important to the rule of law in America. I want the Department of Justice to be above reproach. I want the FBI to be above reproach. It's why I'm so angry, because Merrick Garland knows better. When he lays down at night, there is a little still voice in the back of his head that he knows he is lighting on fire an institution that has protected the rule of law, has protected the Constitution, has protected our rights for decades. And he's doing so. I don't know why he's doing it.
Is it direction from the President of the United States of America, or is this he just got so far off the beaten path of what legally he was supposed to do in his job that now he doesn't know how to come back, or could it be a combination of both?
Look, I genuinely don't know, and I don't want to play armchair psychologist, although we're sitting in armchairs. Some have speculated that when he didn't get the Supreme Court and when the Senate didn't take it up, that it just infuriated him.
Add me to that list.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know the man. I have never met Merrick Garland. I've shaken his hand, I think, once or twice in a hearing room, but I don't know him. When he was up for Attorney General, he refused to come by the office to meet. It was COVID, and so he was like, no, because of COVID, I can't ask hard questions. By the way, no other Attorney General has done that, and the Department of Justice nominees did that over and over and over again. They used COVID.
COVID was great for the Bidens, wasn't it?
If you want to hide in a basement, COVID was a fabulous excuse. So I'm sitting here. He behaves as if he is utterly unaccountable to anyone. And to be honest, that's the same way the White House is behaving. John Kirby, what possible basis? It's not a basis at a press conference to say, I'm not going to answer your question because the answer would make me look really bad. I don't want to because it's bad for the president, and so no thank you. Like, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Not, here are the facts. Not, these are serious allegations. Not, the WhatsApp is false. Not anything. It's just, I'm not going to tell you. Nah. That's his response.
From this podium.
From this podium or any other podium.
Yeah. I want to find the other podium where he would ever answer this question. I don't think it'll ever happen, and that's where you have to get those questions answered. My question for you is this. What moves and what happens next when it comes to Congress dealing with him if more comes out that he lied? And before you answer that, I want to tell you about our friends at Patriot Mobile. If you are sick and tired of giving your money to woke companies and you want to give your money to companies that actually are aligned with your values, one great way to do it is with your cell phone. Now, you may not realize that Big Mobile has been giving money for years. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars to hardcore leftist organizations that include Planned Parenthood. That's where Patriot Mobile comes in. Not only the only conservative Christian conservative phone company in the U.S., but they give you amazing coverage. You can keep your same cell phone number. You can keep your same cell phone you have right now or upgrade to a new one. And when you pay your bill every month, a percentage of that bill goes back to support the causes that you want to stand with. We're talking about the First and Second Amendment rights. We're talking about standing up for unborn children, helping with adoptions, and standing with our veterans and our first responders and our police. Check out Patriot Mobile. Give your money to a company that is aligned with what you believe in. 878-PATRIOT's the number. That's 878-PATRIOT. That's 878-PATRIOT or patriotmobile.com/verdict. patriotmobile.com/verdict. Senator, moving forward with Garland, clearly the people that work for him have had enough of him. They think he's lied. They're coming forward and whistleblowing on him and talking about how they're not allowed to do their jobs, which for them I think is absolutely nonpartisan. They just want to do their job and do what the law says.
Yes.
That's why they're coming for it. It's not a Republican that says, I'm a Republican, hear me out. These are people that just want to do their job and go where the evidence would allow them to go. And he's throwing a wall and saying, you can't go there. And they go this way, and they go, you can't go there. It's a maze that never ends. So if this keeps mounting against him, where does this move with Congress next?
Look, it's going to continue to be the House of Representatives that drives this. We've now got multiple committees that are investigating. We've got the Ways and Means Committee. We've got the Oversight Committee. We have the Judiciary Committee. They're going after and investigating, and they need to keep driving this because the Senate doesn't care. I'm going to press the Senate Judiciary Committee to do something on it, and that will not succeed because Dick Durbin doesn't care. There is not a single Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee who gives a flip. They haven't asked a question about it. This WhatsApp, I promise you, you're going to see me in the Senate Judiciary Committee with the poster board of this WhatsApp behind me. And I'm going to ask the Democrats about it, and they're not going to respond. Their response is going to be John Kirby's. I'm not going to answer that, but it's actually going to be better than John Kirby's. They're simply, since they're not actually at a podium at a press conference, they'll just ignore it. They'll just be like, oh, look, squirrel.
Yeah.
They'll just talk about something totally different. They are willing. It doesn't matter what evidence there is about Joe Biden. They don't want to talk about it. An interesting question is, does there come a point where the corporate media has to? I will tell you, for a long time, Hunter Biden laptop, all this stuff, the corporate media ignored. I will say, as I was flying back to Texas, I think it was NBC News, was on the TV in the airport. And they were suddenly covering on the 6 o'clock news whistleblowers with allegations of misconduct at the Department of Justice. And it was the first time I had seen the corporate media start to cover this. If that starts to happen more, that's a big deal. If you look at Watergate, if you look at when Richard Nixon started to go down, they're different pieces. One of the pieces has to be a Democrat flipping. With Nixon,
that hadn't happened yet.
That hadn't happened yet, and we're nowhere close. With Nixon, lots of Republicans flipped, which ultimately took him down. But the corporate media has to decide to do their job and actually cover these facts. Right now, what they do almost every waking moment is scream Trump, 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 Trump. They don't want to talk about this. This is getting so bad, that may change.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe, auto download button, or if you're listening on Apple, the follow button, and you can get this show 3 days a week. If you're watching this video as well and you don't listen to the podcast on your phone, just put it, if you have an iPhone, put in the word pod in your search and you'll see podcasts come up. You can hit that follow button on Verdict and you can get every episode for free. So make sure you do that. Write us a 5-star review. We'll see you back here in just a couple of days.